What is going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Now today I've got a bit of a different video for you guys. So a few months ago I had the opportunity to go on a 2-week sailing trip in the Seychelles on a 40-foot catamaran. If you were to buy one of these yachts new, it would cost you around £500,000. So I thought it'd be interesting to give you guys a full tour and breakdown of the boat, show you exactly what that kind of money would get you, and then also I want to look further into the details of what a yacht like this might cost to own in terms of annual upkeep, and then compare that to the costs of chartering or renting. Now just before we get into it, if you are new around here, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below and click that bell so you never miss a video. And as always, just as a quick disclaimer, this is in no way financial advice. I'm simply just outlining information and giving my honest opinions and thoughts. So always make sure to do your own research and due diligence when it comes to your finances. Also, don't be offended if I get some of the terminology wrong. I am qualified to charter a yacht like this, but when you're not doing it every day, it's easy to forget what all the terminology is. But with all of that out of the way, let's get into it. Okay, so here we have the boat itself. The model of it is a Robertson and Caine Leopard 40. And like I said, new this would cost around £500,000. Also, this boat sleeps 8 and has 4 double cabins. But honestly, you could sleep more if you wanted to. And it's worth noting that this particular boat has a charter spec, which basically means it's got pretty much the most basic spec package. And it doesn't have many, if any, of some of the optional extras that you could get if you were speccing out this boat yourself and buying it new. This particular boat is also 5 years old, and similar boats on the used market are going for at lowest around £320,000, which is quite a significant depreciation. So here we are at the back of the boat, or the stern, and the boat is currently anchored off the main island of Mahe in the Seychelles. And you basically come up onto the main outdoor living space. At the back there's a coal barbecue, which is quite a nice feature. We actually caught a fresh tuna as well and cooked it right on the back there, but honestly it was a bit of a faff trying to get the coals lit. To the port side of the boat, which is the left, there's a swimming ladder that drops down into the sea, and there's a little hidden outdoor shower hose here for rinsing off the salt if you've been in the water. Also at the back of the boat there's this system for lifting and lowering the dinghy or tender. And it's really useful because you basically just clip your dinghy onto it when you're not using it, and it then lifts up so your dinghy's safely stowed when you're ready to start moving. And it's all electrically powered, which makes it super easy. Now in the centre of this main outdoor deck is a large dining area, and you could quite happily sit 8 people around it. And what's really great is that it's completely sheltered from the sun and the rain if there is any, which is really useful, especially in tropical places where the sun can be really strong, but also it can switch to rain and thunderstorms really quickly. Then straight off this area we have some steps up to where the steering wheel is, or helming station. So there's a nice little bench here that you can sit at least 2 people comfortably, and this is also sheltered. And then basically up here you have all of the instruments that you need to start sailing, with things like a GPS, something telling you what the wind speed's doing, autopilot and whatever else. Then we have all of the main sailing lines that come to this point, which means that in theory one person could single-handedly sail this yacht. Also there are 2 winches here, and what's really cool is that one of them is electrically powered, which is quite handy, especially for when you have to pull the sails up. And also for the non-electric winch, there's a winch handle and a storage space for it. Also here you have access to the 2 engines that the boat has, and so because it's catamaran it actually has an engine on each side, powering 2 separate propellers which work independently. And what's cool about this is if you lock off the steering wheel and keep the rudder straight, you can actually drive and steer the boat by just using those 2 motors independently. You can also do things like put one in forward and one in reverse, and it will make the boat spin almost on the spot. Above the main outdoor space, there are also 2 solar panels, which you'll find on most modern boats these days, and so those help to power things like the fridge and the lights. Also at the back, there's this point here where you can attach a fishing rod and basically cast a line out trailing the boat as you're moving. We didn't have amazing success, but like I said, we did catch 1 tuna. And now moving to the front of the boat, or the bow, we then have this big open space with a trampoline in the middle. Now this trampoline isn't bouncy, but it's actually a really comfortable place to sit. And it can be nice to sit there in the evenings with a drink, and it's also quite fun when the boat's moving, because if there are big waves, you can actually get splashed from underneath. In this first hatch we have access to the anchor, which is all remote controlled, so it's all really easy to use. Then we have a really large storage locker, which is useful for storing fenders, but it also has one of the water tanks and the generator. So this can power things like the fridge, air conditioning, hot water, even if you're not plugged into power at a marina. Then as we come back, you can see there's a couple of steps to allow you access onto the top platform, which sometimes you might need access to, but you can also use it as a platform to jump into the sea. Then as we come back, we come into the main indoor living space, which I think looks pretty good. And I love how many windows there are letting in all that natural light. As you come in on the left, there's also a window which can slide halfway open, kind of giving the indoor space a bit more of an outdoor feel. The main function of this room is sort of a lounging, dining, kitchen space. And so there's a big L-shaped bench with a dining table. And on the right, as you come in, you have access to the switch panel, which has things like the radio, switches to turn on the hot water, lights, all sorts. And then we have a drawer style fridge and freezer, which honestly wasn't the best design, and the drawer runners kept falling off, so we had to be really careful with it. Then we have the main kitchen space with all the things you might expect, so there's cupboards and storage space, a gas cooker and hob, a tap and a sink to do all the washing up, and also a covered drainage compartment, which is good. So it means you can do all the washing up in the morning, put it all in the draining compartment, put the lid on, and you can actually just go off sailing and not worry about anything rolling around or smashing. Also, all of the drawers on boats like this have these little push-pull locking systems to essentially stop the drawers from sliding open when the boat's moving and it might be rocking. Then at the front there's also another door to give you access to the bow, with a chart table and seat to the left so that you can plot your routes and work out where you want to go. Also under the floor there's lots of extra storage space. Then as we come down the stairs on the port side of the boat, or left hand side, we have 2 double bedrooms with one at the back and one at the front, with a shared toilet and shower. Each side of the boat is basically a mirror image, so it's exactly like this on the other side. So in total the boat could comfortably sleep up to 8 people. So this is one of the double rooms at the front, which is actually the one that I was staying in. So it's got a double bed, which sort of tapers off to the front. And then also this funny little compartment at the front that has a mattress in, which I assume would be for staff. On the side there's a little window looking out onto the ocean with some curtains. There's also a full-size wardrobe, which is nice to give you lots of storage space, and then a couple of drawers under the bed. There's also a useful shelf up to the side, which has USB sockets and power outlets to charge your phone and whatnot. And then finally, we have here the air conditioning system, which we didn't really use because it was incredibly loud and it also drew a lot of energy requiring the generator. Then we have the shared bathroom, which has all the things you might expect, so a toilet, sink, a shower, as well as a window in the ceiling and one looking out onto the sea. Then we move into the rear cabin, which is honestly a little bit nicer than the forward one. It feels like it's got a lot more natural light, but the overall amenities are basically the same. So it's got the air conditioning, a large double bed, windows looking out to the side and the back, as well as in the ceiling, a full-length wardrobe, drawers under the bed, and there's also a storage shelf to the side. Then as we come back up into the main living space, you can see there's steps down to the other side, which has an identical layout with 2 bedrooms, one at the front and one at the back, with a shared bathroom in between. Now honestly, one thing that I find really surprising about boats like this is that considering how expensive they are, the actual finishing quality isn't particularly great. So you can see most of the outdoor space is all hard plastic, which is functional but doesn't look particularly nice. Then as we move into the interior, everything's pretty much wood veneer. But that basically shows you everything and completes the tour. So what do you guys think? Would you be happy spending £500,000 on something like that? But like I said at the beginning, I'm now going to go into more detail about the costs and what you might expect to pay per year if you owned a boat like this. There's no exact science to this and you could get lucky and unlucky, but generally they say you'd expect to pay between 10 and 20% per year in annual running costs of the total purchase price. So this will include things like mooring fees, boat maintenance, fuel, and so on. So in this case, that would be between £32,000 and £100,000 per year in annual running costs, obviously depending on if you bought a used or new boat. But either way, that is an eye-watering amount of money. Now when owning boats, some people do try and offset these running costs by doing things like chartering it out when they're not using it, but from what I understand, doing this privately, it's near impossible to make it a profitable exercise. You also have the added downside that boats are normally depreciating assets. So like I said, this one new would cost around £500,000, but after 5 years it's down to 320. Now the alternative option to buying a boat like this is to charter one. You can charter a boat like this for 1 week, starting at around £3,500. And so for 2 weeks, doubling that up makes it to around £7,000. Now that is a lot of money, but when you consider that this boat sleeps 8 people, if you fill it to capacity, that's just £875 per person for a 2-week holiday. And that's your accommodation and entertainment pretty much sorted. Now if you compare the cost to charter a boat like this to just the annual running charges of owning a boat like this, it barely scratches the surface. So if you had £32,000, you could afford to go on multiple trips to different locations, other sorts of trips as well. You also don't have to worry about any of the upkeep of the boat if you're chartering it, and if anything goes wrong, it's not your responsibility and the charter company should sort it out for you. Personally, I don't care how much money I have, I don't think I'll ever be considering buying a boat. To me, it just seems like a complete headache, a massive drain of money, and the limitations that they bring just massively outweigh the benefits. But that is just my opinion, so let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. If you had the money, would you want to spend £500,000 on owning a boat like this? Or do you think you might be more interested in chartering one? Let me know your thoughts down below. Now, I know this isn't one of my typical sort of videos, but if you did make it this far, thank you so much for watching. And I really hope you found it interesting in some way. As always, if you're not already, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below and click that bell so you never miss a video. But with all of that being said, take it easy guys and have a great rest of your day.